Accessibility ain't just for those with disabilities. Makes the world better for everyone, online as well as in person. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the blind blogger Maxwell Ivy, and this is another episode of the Accessibility Advantage, where I am bringing on people who will help me advocate for more accessibility for and inclusion of people with disabilities. My goal is to emphasize the positive benefits more so than the fear of compliance, regulation, and shame. You can find me at theaccessibilityadvantage.com or on LinkedIn as Maxwell Ivy. And for my audio description, I am a large older man, 59 years. I have medium length brown curly hair with gray and white in it, more than I would like to have. Brown, brown eyes. Hey, I tell people to have fun with their audio descriptions. I'm wearing a white button down shirt with a black tie. I'm sitting in a kitchen chair that I stole from the kitchen in my bedroom where I record this podcast. My pronouns are he or him. I have retinitis pigmentosa with Bardet-Biedl syndrome, and I am almost totally blind. I have no functional vision. Again, the podcast is the Accessibility Advantage. And today I'm blessed to be joined by somebody who has been coming at this subject from different language, but I feel like maybe some of the same thoughts, and we'll find that out as we go along. Her name is Sarah Johnson, and she is a content design leader and teacher with over 20 years of experience. She isn't just a content design expert. She is one of the original architects of content first design thinking. Her team works to teach business owners how content isn't just fluff, that it's really part of your infrastructure. She is the author of Content First Design, which is the playbook to her approach. And later this year, her next book, Meaning at Scale, will be coming out. She's the founder and director of Content First Design, where she offers content design services based on actionable, data tested insights. And they also offer workshops to teach practical skills such as content design or AI integration and more. You can find her at contentfirstdesign.com. So, Sarah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and welcome to the Accessibility Advantage.
Thank you, Max, for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, I'm very happy to have you, and I appreciate your helping me try to plan out our conversation today so that we can help people better understand how to create valuable content that will drive their business success. So when I talk to people about accessibility, I always like to ask them, where did they come to understand the importance of including people with disabilities or accessibility? I'm curious, how long have you had this content first mindset or approach, and where does it come from in your professional life?
I have had this approach, boy, probably since 2013. I started teaching at Bentley University a content strategy course, and I wanted to design something that wasn't simply me pontificating in front of a classroom, because we know that would get boring. And I wanted it to be very hands-on. So I developed a course where people did background research on content and then used that research and that understanding of the user and the content to create a website based on the content. And so rather than having an experience be driven visually, it was driven with words. And my premise is that a digital experience is a conversation with your user. How can you have that conversation if you don't know how your user talks, thinks, feels, what their abilities are? And I realized as I was developing that course that I was onto something here, that I'd kind of come up with one methodology that works to create products with using content first design. And I also learned that good content design is accessible, and good accessibility is good content design.
I love that you've said that, because part of that is something I've actually had to learn myself. I've
Mhm.
I've been telling people for years that good accessibility leads to good user experiences. But it's only been the last couple of years as I've focused more on having conversations that I've realized that when you design good user experiences, you avoid a lot of accessibility issues.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so much of that good content design is structure, and screen readers and different forms of helping are structure, H1s, H2s, texts that screen readers understand, and also plain language, talking to people like they're people. And the government put out something called plainlanguage.gov, which simplifies the language on a website so that it doesn't use jargon or high-minded language, so that it's accessible to everybody. And it includes people who process differently, to have like simple sentences, not long sentences. And there are tools you can use to sort of measure the readability of your content.
Well, I have been told that I have only a passing acquaintance with the word brevity, so I'll have to check out some of those tools. But I thought it was important that the first thing you mentioned was H1, H2, which for people who are not familiar with website design, that usually refers to your heading structure. And, when people like me visit a website, it takes us so much longer to navigate a site that those headings are gold.
Absolutely. And they need to be very particular, very specific, and not too long, as do, the H1s, the H2s, and the links. You can't just say learn more. You can't say click here, right? When I see that, it drives me crazy. You want to tell people with an action verb, learn more about blah, 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 or, find your house here.
Right.
Order dinner here, not click here. For something vague that we don't understand.
Yes, yes. And this is important because a lot of people think accessibility is hard, that it's very complicated, high technical stuff, but most of the really important stuff is very simple. It's just a matter of understanding how people with disabilities consume information and how they talk.
Exactly. And how screen readers work, how people process language, and the simpler the language is, the easier it is for everybody, not just people with disabilities, but you get a higher engagement rate with everybody of the most able,
I get
because
it. I get
can,
it.
go ahead.
Yeah, you're talking about engagement, and that's what we all want. None of us want to just put out content for our own entertainment. We want people to engage with it, to interact with it, and to look forward to that next bit of content.
Exactly. And I think that good accessibility and good content design work together to increase engagement.
Right. So you've had this since 2013. That's getting close to 20 years that you've been on this journey to. Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry, it's interesting. You started this teaching this course, and I did my first podcast guest interview this at about the same time.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, because back then I was trying to promote my website selling used amusement rides and carnival equipment, and I started doing podcasts because logistics for even traveling around my own city were limiting. So
Right.
Interesting that we've both gone down different paths with different language, but getting to the same point. It's user design and accessibility. They go hand in hand. So cool.
It is. It's very cool, and it's fulfilling to know that you're helping everyone and not just like a select group that I'll call elite, because
Yeah, cited
people
for
don't
shower
realize
elite.
we don't realize our privilege,
Yes.
and it's fulfilling to know that you're helping everyone, people who speak different languages, people with different abilities, people with different cognitive. And I've learned a lot about accessibility, that it's not just people who are blind and deaf, but people with neurodiversity and physical diversity. And it's fulfilling to me to know that we're serving everyone.
Right. And as a consultant myself, I spend a lot of my time trying to educate myself from people who live with these other disabilities that I don't have any experience or familiarity with. And those are really the more challenging ones. The non-visible stuff
Yes.
is it's harder to identify those folks, and it's harder to figure out what they need.
Absolutely, and that's a lot of user research goes into that. I've been lucky enough to be at huge companies that had strong user research teams where we could really learn. And we've even had people come in or people on staff who had neurodiversity or other types of issues where they would come and talk to us about how they processed information online, what was meaningful to them, what made them feel excluded, what didn't work. And it put a personal touch on the information. It made it really accessible, excuse the word, accessibility accessible to us.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. But because they worked at a company that was doing this research, I feel like they felt comfortable enough to have these conversations. What would you say to a business owner who feels like they probably have people with these issues, but they don't know how to gather the information or have the conversation?
I would say they need to talk to a user research expert and initially hire people to do their website that understand accessibility thoroughly. And if they don't, they're going to get dinged. If they're a large enough company, they can get huge fines from the government. I mean, it's very enforced these days. Smaller websites, I don't think get the attention from enforcing agencies, the ADA, about compliance with the standards. But I think that having someone with research or reading a book, or reading the websites that have these standards is so important, and educate yourself about it. Learn.
Right. There are places people can learn. The International Association of Accessibility Professionals has
Mhm.
online courses. AudioEye.com, a company I've done some content creation for, offers courses. W3C online school offers courses. So there are lots of them out there, and
Absolutely.
most of them are broken up into small enough chunks where you don't have to be an expert or somebody taking a degree program to understand them.
Right. No, I think all
That's such
those are really valuable resources.
Yeah, that is such a good point. Educate yourself, read, listen to podcasts, hire somebody who knows what they're doing, or take these courses. So, what would you say to business owners who will say that they cannot create really interesting, compelling, engaging content and still be accessible?
That's nonsense.
Yes, but I keep hearing it. People are like, I can't have my whiteboards, I can't have my videos, I can't have my shorts. I can't have none of that really cool stuff if I'm going to be accessible. So help them out.
Well, I think with video, we have closed captioning. We also, some of the same principles of content design apply to video. You know, how people are going to interpret you. Don't talk too fast. Don't use long sentences. Don't use jargon. Like, think about if you were to write down everything you're saying in the video, what's the readability and usability score of that content? And it also gives you the opportunity for search engine optimization. And closed caption now is like standard with video.
Yes, we are lucky that closed captions have become standard and automated in a lot of cases. We're nowhere near having that happen with audio descriptions for video, but hopefully that is coming as well. And you've made a very important point there. You said the search engines. Earlier you talked about how structure helps people with disabilities. Structure not only helps the search engines, it also helps the AI bots. So could you talk a little bit more about the organic search engine value of accessibility?
Absolutely. Having search engine viability is critical with AI, and you can even train your AI to have search engine optimization. I think that as we get into more AI, people are going to use ChatGPT and already are using ChatGPT to answer questions. Like they used to go to Google, like, and say, I have a bruise over my eye. What could it be? Dr. Google. And now they'll go to ChatGPT because they've got more information drawn from more resources. So I think that having search engine optimization on all of your information for artificial intelligence is really, really important. And we'll learn more about how AI processes SEO and what do they call AEO, artificial intelligence engine optimization. We'll learn more about how that works as we get deeper and deeper into it.
Come on, I just got used to saying SEO. Now I got to do AIEO. I mean,
EIEIO.
there you go. Yeah, where's old McDonald when we need him? So one thing I was, we met through podmatch.com.
Right.
And one of the things I remember reading in all the information on that site about you was some of your experiences with a company called TIIA. But I was really interested in the exchanges y'all had from listening to the customer experiences and some of the things you all learned about how you get people to give you this better information that you need to create the accessible, inclusive content.
That's a really interesting question. I think it comes down to being a very skilled interviewer and facilitator. And we had a great research team that was very skilled at interviewing people. It takes a lot of humanity and compassion to understand where people are coming from, to create a safe space where they can talk about things that maybe they feel vulnerable about. And our interviewers really helped with that a lot. And the more user research we did, the more that we learned. And having an accessibility expert on every team, like our teams would be made up of a business person, a product person, a UX designer, a graphic designer, a content person, an accessibility person, and a user researcher. So that's seven people. And having an accessibility expert on the team, I learned a lot. I learned a lot from the users. I learned a lot from the experts on our team. And we cultivated a really strong website. And I think a lot of that was simplicity. The simpler, the better.
Right. The other thing that really came across to me through that I guess you'd call it a white paper or case study about your experience there was the importance of good instruction. That was something I didn't expect to hear
Oh, right.
from this particular example.
So a lot of what we had run into on TIA used to be TIAA Craft was it's a financial institution, and a lot of what people go there to do is transactional. Like, I want to move money from here to here. I need to take my required minimum distribution. No one knows what that is or why they have to do it. So going through a transactional process, we wound up breaking it up into step by step. And on each step, we explained what was happening and why they were being asked for the personal information they were being asked for. Because that was people dropped off the process because they didn't want to tell you, if they were married or your wife's birthday or whatever it was. And the other thing we did was reassure them when they did something correctly. You're on track. Let's go to the next step. That kind of reassurance. And then we also set expectations. This is a process that'll take 5 minutes. You'll need this, this, and this document, and be prepared for this. So there was a lot of upfront education, like educating people through the process. We got rid of jargon. We used extremely simple language. We maybe had 3 sentences. It's very separate on a page. And it really, really, really increased engagement and submission rates massively. And what that does is it's great accessibility. It's great because people are succeeding with the online process and not calling this customer support as much.
Yeah.
And customer support is expensive. That costs millions.
Yes.
And so to save money there, that's a huge win. and you have happy customers. People aren't like pulling their hair out and terrified of what they're doing with their money or that they'll do something wrong.
Right. And so as I think about these things in accessibility, you mentioned breaking them up into smaller items. Well, breaking things up into smaller items is great for people using adaptive technology.
Oh yeah.
It's also great for people using mobile devices because then they have less information and less actions on any one screen. So user experience, accessibility, letting people know what they need beforehand and reassuring them. That is one of the things that aggravates me more than anything is a form that doesn't have a way in it to tell me if I'm proceeding correctly so far to the point where instead of waiting until I press submit,
I know what you mean. Then you get all these red marks. Go
yeah,
back, fix
yeah, yeah. If I'm lucky, they've coded it where I can actually understand what things it wants me to fix. But these are really simple things, but they lead to such great improvements in the relationship and the experience. And those are the kind of things that build loyal consumers, aren't they?
Those are huge. Building brand trust is going to increase ROI. And, it helps with retaining customers and acquiring customers. They feel like you know them, they feel safe and supported, they feel like seen and understood when you respond to what their difficulties are.
And that is one of those things. We all want to be seen and heard and understood, and we want that to be proven out by actions, not just by what a company says they're going to do.
Absolutely. Actions. And so much about content first design and meaning at scale is about having that consistent message throughout an experience. And I extrapolated it so that meaning at scale is about having a consistent message throughout an organization and creating team alignment. So users aren't getting three different messages for three different things. They're not calling it log in here, sign in here. You know what I mean? And just so that's a very simple example of how not to confuse customers. Align on meaning across an organization. What do these words mean? What does this action mean? And when you do that, it becomes more accessible. People get, it avoids a lot of customer confusion, and it also, what's the word I'm looking for? It creates a consistency in a mental model that helps users understand the product.
Right. When you said you were going to talk about having the same message across an entire business, I thought it was going to be something, complex, something, but the truth is something as simple as changing the wording you use for regular functions in within a business can be a big problem, especially for adaptive technology users, because a lot of us are navigating the website based on searching for particular text strings and then routing our cursor
Oh,
to that
right.
word or
Right.
link. So if you go from login to sign in to opt in to use
Right.
Google, Facebook, whatever, that doesn't seem like a big deal. But to somebody that is doing this with adaptive technology, it can be a huge deal. So I don't know if you intended to use that example, but that's a
No,
great
no, I
example.
didn't. I didn't. And you just taught me something I didn't know. So thank you for that. That's something I need to get into my line of thinking.
Right. Well, it comes down to having to navigate a lot of information and taking more time than others. So we take whatever shortcuts we can. And two of our best shortcuts are heading navigation and searching for particular text strings and then having the computer navigate to those strings. And
Mhm.
the other thing that can cause a problem with that is not just changing the wording, but using graphical characters or
Oh
using
gosh, yeah.
text but not coding it as text, because if it isn't identified as text, my screen reader can't find it as text.
Right.
It's one of those weird things. I can still navigate, say with the arrows or with tab and find that, but I can't search for it because it hasn't been properly coded. That's more than people wanted to know. Sorry about that. But but yeah, I'm glad we both learned something today because I really wasn't. I was really thinking, meaning at scale was going to be something much more high tech or high.
Max, what's interesting is, to me, it's so obvious. Like, this is something that's been a problem since the beginning of time, is creating that alignment across an organization. And I'm finally standing up and screaming and yelling about it. So it's getting attention. But everybody knows it's true. Everybody knows it's a problem. And I think the accessibility aspect, that throws another reason in why people should hire me to come fix it.
Yeah, they should hire us as a team. We'll hook up and
We'll
tag team
do it.
this stuff.
Absolutely.
There you go. Yeah, so I was going to ask you. There are a couple of things I personally feel like should be in the accessibility guidelines, but they aren't. And I don't know if it's because I'm the only one thinking about it or because it would be hard to instruct people on how to do this. But there are three things that I really feel like would help a lot that are not technically accessibility stuff. One is focusing on the most important reason for your website to exist. Two is simple design. Three is minimalist approach. Where are you at on any of those three?
I think the first thing that you said is like, why does this website exist? Should be boom right there at the beginning. And I do a lot of website audits where that you don't know why the website exists. It's true though, and you know it. You're talking about it,
Exactly.
and simple, clean design is critical. It's critical for everybody, not just accessibility. I think that we get lost in so many of the websites I look at have long paragraphs, that are 2 or 3 inches long, and I don't want to read that. It needs to. I mean, I will if it's a textbook, but reading online is difficult, and we're attention deficit disorder. We're a culture that wants what we want when we want it, and so we need to help everybody, people with accessibility issues and people without, to find what they're looking for quickly and make things scannable and simple.
Yeah, I love that, and for me, it's also about it is the amount of links and buttons and other content items on a page. Some of these websites have 50, 60, or 100 articles.
Right.
Yeah.
That's too much.
Well, I blame it on the P.T. Barnum effect. He basically had the approach of let's just put everything on the midway because that way before they leave, we'll get their money. And as a former carnival owner, it's an example that works in my brain. But I feel like that's the way a lot of the website owners are doing this, or a lot of the people designing websites are doing it. We'll put everything on the homepage and hope they see the one thing we really want them to see.
Well, that's just clutter. And the way to answer that is with like a really smart information architecture and taxonomy. Because when you have that much information on a page, people, instead of seeing the one thing they want, they're not going to see anything. Whereas if you have a good information architecture, people know why the site is there. They know what they can get. They can find it on the information architecture. There's good taxonomy and language for things that's understandable and comprehensible to everybody. It should be easier to navigate. And you can tell me, Max, what it's like for you with a screen reader going through navigation that has multiple tiers.
Right. Well, multiple tiers can be really good or really bad depending on how they design it.
Right.
If they design it with effective submenus that have what are called accordion buttons that allow them to expand and close back up, and those are done the way they're supposed to be done, it can work really well. I mean, it can actually be a way to combine a lot of information into smaller amounts of navigation space. But most people are not doing it well. Most people are depending on headers, and they'll be all the way down to H4 and H5 in some cases.
That's too much.
And that's just too much. And so I highly encourage people to think about, does Just like every great author has a talented editor that will tell them when they've exceeded their necessary word count. And so I try to get people to ask themselves, does this item really need to be on the homepage? Could it be on a subsequent page? Does it need to be on the website at all?
Mm-hmm.
And I also find that one thing that would help people with alt text for images, which is important to screen reader users as well as search engines and AI bots, one thing that would help there would be if people would be a little more discriminating about what photos they feel like have to be on their website.
Right.
I mean, that's one of those areas where the proliferation of digital cameras has actually hurt people because people have all these photos, they want to use them,
Right.
Slideshows can be good too if they're well designed, but a lot of people are building very poor slideshows for accessibility purposes.
Talk to me about what makes a good slideshow.
All right. First thing is the default position is stop. I should not have to search for the button to pause a slideshow because one of the problems with slideshows is when you come to the website, if they're already moving,
right,
be communicating certain amounts of information to the screen reader, whether I want it to or not.
mm-hmm.
And I have to cut through that noise to find the button to stop it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is make sure that your slideshow is actually working, because a lot of times I get to a slideshow and there'll be a slide and there'll be this huge amount of information and then there'll be the next slide. And so I feel like people are not formatting their slides effectively enough to make sure that they display in a way that can be easily read either by a sighted person or by a screen reader. And then, having clearly labeled buttons for advancing and rewinding the slides. And then finally, if you've only got 3 slides, why are you building a slideshow? Somebody tell me this.
That's awesome.
If you have 2 slides, why are you building a slideshow? Help me out here.
I want to go back to what you said about clearly marked advance and retreat buttons. Now, can that be like a greater than less than sign if it has an alt image text?
Yes, that can be, because quite often you would intuit that those are forward and reverse.
Right.
Yes, I'm okay with that. There are some people who would get upset about it, but I think you would meet the WCAG guidelines if you did that, as long as, like you say, you use the alt text.
Right. Cool.
Yeah, but those are some of the things. Same with audio and video. Believe it or not, 2026, there are still people building websites where their video and audio auto loads.
Oh boy.
It still happens. And when you have a screen reader, sometimes you can't hear your screen reader to turn them off. So you have to close the web page in order to back out of it and then go somewhere else,
Right.
So these are things I'm sure they did not intend to make things hard on people like me, but that's just the way it is. And then another thing a lot of people leave out is they may think about alt text for images, and some of the sites like WordPress for content management systems. I hear Wix has something in it now.
Yeah.
I hear GoDaddy has even got something in it now where it'll remind you for alt text. But the thing is, a lot of people don't realize that they also have to add alt text to images that are connected to buttons, links, or videos. And if they don't add that alt text, then I don't know what that button, link, or video is going to do. And in many cases, I won't even see it with a screen reader. Somebody using a screen magnifier will see it. They may not completely understand it, but they'll see it.
Mm-hmm.
Using mechanical switch devices, they won't have any problem with it at all, as long as the thing that triggers that link, button, or video has been fixed, so it doesn't require a mouse click to be triggered. So
cool.
Yeah, that's another thing that I wish we as a community would talk more about, is the lack of mouse functions when using adaptive technology. But that's a whole nother subject. So I honestly, but hey, I really appreciate the fact that you took this opportunity to ask me these questions and turn this into more of a conversation
Oh,
than
sure.
an
No,
interview. And I give you full credit for being the kind of person they should want to hire because of your curious, inquisitive nature and your fearless desire to ask questions and learn.
oh, thank
Those
you.
oh yes. Oh yes. I have an almost pathological need to tell people when they do things that are good and desired. And are setting a great example by what you've asked in this last 5 or 10 minutes of our talk here today. So I'm very impressed with you. If I
Well, I
wasn't
figure
already,
you know a lot more about this than I do, Max.
yeah. But when it comes to content design and actually using content to convert people into interested, and then from interested into clients or customers, that's
Mhm.
something I really struggle with. I am not good at lead generation. I host this podcast because I'm not good at lead generation. I'm hoping to that conversations with you will either lead to future guests hiring me or to people thinking, I saw him talk to Sarah about accessibility content design, and maybe I should hire one of them. That's
The
so
dynamic duo, hire both of them.
dynamic duo. There you go. We'll tag team. I tell you, we'll bring in my friend Jenna Jenna Gutenberg, who's an expert in person physical accessibility, and we will nail it all down.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would be very cool.
That would
Super
be very cool.
interesting.
I like the
Yeah.
way you think. I like the way you think. So can you tell me can you give me some insight into what we need to be doing better with content if our goal is to attract loyal consumers or a loyal audience that we can convert into business opportunities? What are some things we need to be doing with our content?
Our content needs to be readable, it needs to be structured, and it needs to be simple. And our content needs all the same things that AI needs. So, accessibility, if we're writing for accessibility, we're writing good content, and that good content is going to help AI think clearly and not spit out gobbledygook. So, I mean, it all ties together really well, and it's all extremely important.
Yep. As you've been talking today, I've been thinking about at one time I was in the Boy Scouts, and to get one of the merit badges, we had to make our own rope. And the rope started with three long pieces of twine. And as I'm hearing you talk about accessibility, content design, and search engine optimization, I'm thinking about those three long pieces of twine that had to be
Mhm.
wound together thousands of times to make a 3 foot piece of rope.
Absolutely, it is a 3 foot piece of rope, and I think there are a lot of things that we do one thing well, and it's going to help the other. Accessibility will help content design. Content design can help accessibility, which can help AI, which will improve search engine optimization, and it snowballs.
Right. So what it sounds like you're telling me as far as my own content is, I just have to keep doing what I'm doing and have the good content and consistency lead to growing the business. Am I understanding correctly what you would tell people to do?
Absolutely. I think that I would tell you to keep your content structured, simple, and reassuring. And I would tell you to keep your messaging consistent. People think it's like, oh, I can come out with a brand new something or other, but really to keep the consistent messaging for years is a good thing. Look at Nike, just do it. Like, how long have they been running that? And when you have that consistent message, it's like you're a brand we can rely on. You're not a chameleon.
Right. Well, as you mentioned that, I'm thinking about as how I refer to myself as the blind blogger. It's something I did for years because people hung the name on me, and it
Mhm.
stuck. And I thought it was a cool name. It was back when I was one of the few blind people that was openly sharing my work as a disabled person online. So I I gained a lot of attention because 12, 13, 15 years ago, most people with disabilities were hiding their disability. So
Right, right.
um, but over the last few years, as I've focused more on accessibility, I have thought, well, the name doesn't fit with what I'm doing now. But what I learned at a conference last year is that the fact that I did this when nobody else was doing it makes me a trailblazer and a thought leader in the disability
Absolutely.
community. So I've had to come to terms with the fact that the blind blogger doesn't need to do anything but maybe change the tagline. So we on my logo, and I'm still trying to get the artwork from the person who volunteered to do it for me. We changed the tagline from "What's your excuse" to "Accessibility benefits everyone."
I like that.
So, so
That's
yeah, I'm
great.
glad,
Accessibility
yeah,
benefits everyone. Yeah.
yeah, and I appreciate your response to to what other people have said about where this puts me in the disability slash accessibility arena. So that's very encouraging. So tell me a little bit about the kind of services you offer and the workshops you do. I want to make sure I give you a chance to promote your work before we finish.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you. So I do keynote talks and presentations about content first, both at the user experience level and at the organizational marketing level. I do workshops that are very hands-on for user experience teams and for marketing teams. And ideally, my dream would be to get the CMO, the head of marketing, and the head of UX in a room and teach them about meaning at scale. So I dare you guys, come on, let's do this. And so I offer that. I offer looking at, for marketing organizations, looking at meaning drift. And I have a thing called a meaning drift diagnostic where I can tell you where your meaning and how you're talking about things is getting skewed and how we can fix that. I have a content clarity audit where I look at a website and I can tell you where you've run amok in terms of meaning, language, helping people understand, why is this website here, Max?
Well, I appreciate that. That's some great effort, and I have to admit, because honesty is a big part of my brand. When you said you want to get those three people in, and you said a room, I was thinking a cage.
To duke it out.
I'm sorry. That's just where my mind went right that second. Well, I'm glad that you're doing the hard work of educating people about the importance of content first, design, how it's important to the building and the maintaining of a brand, how it's important to people growing their businesses. I'm so thankful that you were able to work in accessibility as part of this, and that you believe that all of this stuff goes hand in hand: accessibility, user experience, content first. So thank you so much for bringing all this great stuff to the podcast. Before we through, I'd appreciate it if you tell people where they can find you, and if there's anything you have coming up that they should know about.
Sure, they can find me at contentfirstdesign.com and set up a free half-hour chat about anything. And not a pitch, not a commitment, just hello. And so Sarah at Content First Design, and I'm at LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/SAJ writer.
Right. And all those links will be in the blog post when I post the audio and the video replay to my website. So look forward to that. And also be sure to check out her books. She's a serial author, very, very talented wordsmith. So y'all should definitely do that. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. This has been a very enjoyable time, and I feel like we've really done a lot to educate the audience today. So thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for the conversation. It's been truly fun.
Well, thank you so much. If you just hang around a couple minutes while I do my outro, I would appreciate it.
Sure.
So I hope y'all have enjoyed another great conversation on the Accessibility Advantage, which you can find at theaccessibilityadvantage.com. Send me an email to maxwell@theaccessibilityadvantage.com, or I am linkedin.com/in/maxwellivey, spelled IVEY. You on my LinkedIn profile and website, you can also book a time to speak to me, either to discuss improving accessibility at your organization or to discuss possibly coming on the podcast and talking about what you and your business offer to the world that may improve accessibility. Again, my focus is on emphasizing the many positive benefits instead of focusing so much on fear and the negative thoughts around accessibility. So I hope y'all will consider. Also, please check out a couple of companies that are really dear to me. Blueberry.com, that's Blueberry without the E's. They sponsor the podcast hosting. Podmatch.com, where I'm the accessibility advisor, and LessAnnoyingCRM.com, which provides an accessible and easy to use CRM for those of y'all who need a way to manage all the emails and other contacts you have during your business day. So I hope y'all check all those out. I know that you have a lot of demands on your time, so I appreciate you spending some of it with me. Thank you very much for that. And I hope you will join us again next time. Until then, please do take care of yourselves out there. So, disabled people, we tell our friends and share to our social sites. Don't think about how hard it is. Just focus on those dollar signs, 'cause accessibility ain't just for those with disabilities.
Item chooser meant 1 fit 2 items, end stream button, end stream button, end the stream, and Alt set not yet, end.